through the process of refining our values and mission as a health department, and aligning those with our strategy. If you look on the first page, that graphic represents what we feel our strategy is for us to be able to succeed. The first is, if we're a great organization, attract great talent, and when we have great people working for us, we'll be able to work in community partnership. Public health is not something that one agency does by themselves. Community partnerships are really how public health gets done across our communities. And so people will want to work with us. We'll have community partnerships, and those community partnerships foster what we call increased access to opportunities. Whether that's an increased access for people to have access to healthy foods, have access to healthcare, have access to clean drinking water. Those things are important. All those things, our ultimate goal is to have good health outcomes, which is investment in human capital for healthy people. So that's our strategy. You can look at our next page. We have a great graphic that kind of displays our core values, our integrity, respect, and commitment, which drive our mission of ensuring excellence in the delivery of the 10 essential public health services to the residents of Box Elder, Cache, and Rich counties. We believe that those things build up to our ability to realize our vision of healthy people and thriving community. And we changed that just a little bit. I think it's really important. I want you guys to understand why thriving was so important. Thriving is different. It used to be healthy people and healthy communities, but thriving encompasses so many of the other things that we call like social determinants of health, like whether the economic well-being, stability, social connectedness, and includes education, physical activity, and creating an environment where people can really thrive. So it's a small change, but I think it's important. There's our finances. The health department overall is in a really good place financially. Inherited a great financial situation from the former director, and we've been able to build on that. The biggest thing I wanted to bring to your attention is when you look at our expenditures, that bottom bar graph, 65 per, well, sorry, the revenues, sorry. 65% of our revenues come from contracts, which means we rely heavily on contracts that come from primarily the federal government through DEP, where Department of Health and Human Services. That puts us in a really tough spot sometimes. We're looking across the president's budget right now, and we're looking at potentially seeing 40% reduction based off the summer. If those things were to be adopted, they could have some significant impact on our ability to continue to offer certain programs and services to our community. So we're monitoring that. We hopefully have a little bit more detail in the Board of Health meeting, but it does put us in a little bit of a tough situation. Outside of that, the department's actually in a really good financial situation.
So is that contract, is that all federal, or is there local and state?
So the county taxes that we get from each of the counties is represented in that 12%.
Okay.
And that's the money that doesn't have any strings attached, that we're able to backfill areas that we don't have complete resources to cover. But now over 90% of that 65% is federal dollars.
Okay.
So we have two small pots of state dollars, well, maybe three. I guess I'd say four. There's the opioid settlement dollars, So
Which wasn't a lot.
the county's got some and the state's got some, and we applied for some in the state. So we did get some in addition from the state, in addition to what we're getting from the counties. There's tobacco settlement dollars. If you remember back in the 90s when the states sued the tobacco companies, that money's still coming through and that comes through the state. There's minimum performance dollars for the Department of Health and Human Services, and then there's minimum performance dollars for DEQ. The DEQ one is very small. We just got an increase from the state legislature on the DHHS side, and $600,000. It used to be only about $100,000. But those are the only 4 areas that we get state dollars. The rest of those contracts. So we're monitoring the federal situation and trying to make a determination how that will impact.
Did that our opioid money go to them?
Yeah.
Does other counties do that too?
Yeah. We're getting about 85% from Cache County of their settlement, and I get 4% from Boxer County. Everything but they put some of it into their correctional facility. The majority of it. So, and we've been splitting those about 70-30. So 30% goes to prevention and then 70% is going to treatment. I guess one other good thing during the pandemic, the Garden City office lapsed its license to offer counseling services there, and the state's been giving us grief. Just yesterday, we got the AOK to 100% be licensed, and so we'll have a licensed counselor there 2 days out of the month.
Good.
Now they've been doing things telehealth, but now we'll be able to be actually in person. So
So real quick, if 40% of your contracts are could be cut, what's the first thing that's affected by that?
it depends on where it falls. Right now, as in our initial assessment, we're looking at some of our injury prevention, our diabetes, not some of them, but it sounds like the majority of those: injury prevention, diabetes, the entire emergency preparedness. So there's a public health emergency preparedness that coordinates with county emergency managers. That's proposed to be completely cut. That's $500,000 in and of itself. Some of the prevention dollars from SAMHSA is proposed to be eliminated in the budget. We're looking probably the rough estimate. And here's the question I don't understand. We're going to have to wait to see if they get if the president's budget gets adopted by Congress and all those things go through. The question I still have is, are they planning to absorb all those cuts through the reductions in force that they've done and still pass money through? Or are they planning to completely eliminate dollars to the states and locals? In some of the budget, it says these things can be done better at the state level. I don't disagree with that, but our state doesn't. We don't have a process to fund that right now. The state legislature hasn't allocated any funds for that. So what do we do in the meantime? And those are some of the challenges. But my rough estimate, when I was talking to Josh Greer, our deputy director, he and I think that it could be up to like $1.6 million cut if everything went through kind of around the 40%. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far. So that we've already taken about $1 million cut in COVID, and we absorbed that. We didn't absorb that. We lost 10 positions as a result of that. 5 of them through attrition, and 5 of them we had to lay off. So we're already down to, we went from 15.5 to 14.5. We could be down another $1.5 million. So, but we're actively working, our team's working on what our plans would be if the worst case scenario comes about, and
and then we'll continue to monitor it. But we won't be caught flat-footed, that's for sure. We'll have a plan in place for how we would respond. So we're actively working on that. But
So those are educational programs though, mostly, or are they actual treatment? Sorry, I don't understand it.
yeah, some of them are educational. The diabetes ones,
Prevention.
it's trying to do education and get people who are pre-diabetic so that they get into a lifestyle that may prevent them from becoming
Yeah.
full-blown diabetic.
And those ones are, probably save a lot of money down the road, but they're hard to quantify
Yeah.
right away. So, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So there are some treatment dollars on the SAMHSA side, but they're very big in the budget to say that some treatment dollars. Another one that we get $50,000 for harm reduction. Harm reduction in that realm is like a needle exchange. So people that are IV drug users, we can provide them clean needles to try to avoid communicable diseases, with the goal to, as they come and get those, try to drive them towards treatment.
Yeah. And if they ever do get clean, they don't have some type of chronic illness.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's being proposed to be cut. So we're just trying to monitor and figure out how do we respond once we find out how it all shakes out. But, yeah. With that, happy news.
Yeah. So we're over our time, so I'll just quickly go through the rest of this really quick. But the next sections just talk about our 4 goals. So the first one being the health department works to strengthen relationships with the aim to improve the health of our citizens. It talks about community partnerships and actually just talking about the opioid funding. This has that part that is in prevention that we receive from each county has allowed us to there's 7 new coalitions that exist in northern Utah because of this funding. And one of them actually does exist now in Rich County. Heather Olson is the gal from our community health service area that has started a coalition up here. It's with the Communities That Care framework, and it really focuses on evidence-based programs that help reduce risk factors and strengthen protective factors to create a healthier environment for young people. So we now have that up here, which is something that hasn't happened in the past. So that's kind of exciting. To learn more about it, you can scan that QR code. The next one that we're going to look at is access to opportunities. This is a great one, especially for a more rural community, is that WIC statewide has actually expanded their services for a more convenient, like almost like a debit card system, that if someone is on WIC, they now can use the debit card. They can actually have that preloaded. They don't have to come into the office to have that done. In the past, that was the case. So it has reduced barriers in the sense that it's actually helping families receive the food that they need. And is a huge benefit, I think, for a more rural community. So that's great for this area. Another thing that happened with access to opportunities was something that happened with our governing youth council. Bill's probably really familiar with this already because we've talked about it a lot in Board of Health. But this group of young people actually brought to a local legislator the need to have a youth tobacco cessation service be more accessible to underage kids. And they actually went so far as a House bill being created and was actually passed, House Bill 128, that allows increased access to tobacco and nicotine cessation services to youth. They were widely recognized for their effort. It went so far as Governor Cox actually did come to the health department and sign the bill in front of these kids. They've received even some national recognition for that. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment from our governing youth council kids, starting so young as 6th grade, going up and doing something like that. So you can see then our healthiest people is the people of the Bear River Health District will be among the healthiest in the state. You can look at those numbers, see kind of where we lie, where we don't have a lot of time left. I'll let you do that on your own. But you can turn the page over and you can have a glance at the services we've provided. A couple things that just really want to touch on, because we've just talked about that, was I I just lost my train of thought, but I did want to talk, there was something that, if you turn it the page over, you'll see some of that prevention services that that were just mentioned that would potentially be cut with the federal dollars. But even, the diabetes program is mentioned in here. Participants completing the National Diabetes Prevention Program who report that dietary changes they made will reduce their chances of developing diabetes. So you can look at that data, and 85% of those people have followed up and said, yes, they're continuing on. It's a year-long program. It was something we offered that was actually quite a benefit for those individuals that were able to participate in it. I don't want to take any more of your time unless there's something on here that you'd like me to specifically go over. But we are 10 minutes into past what we were supposed to be. So anything else? I think that is our annual report. We have a great team at the health department. Jordan's doing a great job at leading us along, and we'll do our best.
So this is saying suicide is up 35%.
0.35.
0.35, sorry.
0.35%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Trending down.
trending down in the state up in
Well,
our
that's
health district.
Good.
So yeah. I know one time we had the population wrong over here in Rich County. Is that look more correct? A couple years ago, we had the number wrong on here. I think it was like 12,000 or something.
Yeah, that looks closer.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it's actually like 2,721, but that's
Okay, well, a couple people moved out.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's all that was. Anything else, you guys?
close, I think.
We appreciate your time and allowing us to come today.
Well, thanks for coming all the way
Yeah.
over.
Is there anything you guys need from the health department in Ridge County?
On getting licensed back over in Garden City, that's gonna be 2 days a week
2 days a month
or a month, I mean, and,
with telehealth in between.
okay, so are those days set days?
They don't have them yet. I think it will depend on what the caseload is.
It literally happened yesterday.
Okay,
So
They finally got approval, so.
okay. I just wondered if you'd already identified those 2 days of, the second Wednesday and third Wednesday or something.
I can talk to Jared and see if they're planning on
Not
it.
that that's a big deal, but it would be good to get that out into the community once we know.
We can let you know as soon as we find out.
Yeah,
I'll talk to Jared.
Do you want that copy so you can look at the highlighted material? or-
no, I'm
He needs your sticky notes.
Yeah, then it's the clip note
Thanks,
version.
Jordan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll see you Monday, maybe?
Yeah.
Thanks for attending Commissioner Cobb.
Oh, he's a hard one. Thank you. See you later. You guys have a great rest of the day.
You too.
yeah.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
Mineral lease property purchase. Come on up.
It's actually their patented acreage back in 1908, and I appreciate you guys, allowing me to come up and speak with you. Just something off the record that kind of really hit home. My brother died from fentanyl, so that's it. I didn't hear that today, sorry, but that's something that needs to be addressed and taken care of in our country in a big way. Because
Did you see the 10 o'clock news last night?
No.
They seized 990 pounds of fentanyl
Good.
pills and over $1 million.
I'm glad that's
In Salt Lake?
Well, it was through 3 or 4 states, but Utah was involved.
Yeah, it's been an operation that they've been working.
That's a lot of fentanyl pills.
1,000
pounds worth.
I mean, people just don't realize what they're getting into, and they a friend of mine, I didn't know, a lady I used to work with, her sister, who's a nurse, had just passed away from fentanyl. And you would think, okay, well, she's a professional. She would know all the ins and outs, and maybe this isn't the wisest choice, but okay, sorry, I shouldn't have
That's
gone outside.
okay.
But that's an important thing to me. But
literally affects all of our lives, you know, I mean, everybody's affected, whether it's a brother or a
Yeah.
sister, friend, whatever, it's a tough deal, but thank you.
Okay. I started on this back in, I think it was October, and I, through the state of Utah, with their records, was showing Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. as owning this property, and so I came up. I said, "Well, let's see what the real story is." So I came up to the county records office, and it was just a snowy day. It was like the first kind of snow we had, and I came up and talked to the county recorder, and they pulled it up and showed Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. So and it took a while to even get a hold of the owner of Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. And because they're back east, they're not local here in Utah. But I got a hold of him. I said, "Well, what are your plans for this? Because taxes haven't been paid on it. Are you guys gonna do anything?" And so over the course of time, we came to an agreement to, for me to have ownership transferred to me through a quitclaim deed, which is how back in, I think, 1991, they transferred the ownership from Stephen S. Bradley, who's a guy from, well, he started his company in Massachusetts, and it's still Bradley Pulverizer is still going on. Well, they sold that company along with this property to Crawford Mountain Properties Inc., or that's when they started that corporation. Well, at that time, and I spoke with Commissioner Cox briefly about this, is almost immediately the DEQ came in and said, "Hey, we've got to shut off these tunnels." So it was right after they gained ownership, or within 2 years, all of a sudden they're hitting with this, "Okay, well, we need an easement onto your property to close these tunnels," which is important. Um, so I think they got hit 4 times. So 3 of the times they said, "We're going to eat this cost. This is, in writing." And I have that paperwork. Well, the fourth time, and I think the fourth time was in 2006. And these guys, I can't imagine what they were wondering what was going on. But they said they basically were overwhelmed. Is my what I'm getting from him is that they felt a little overwhelmed with, okay, well, this fourth time they didn't say they're not gonna eat that cost, but they may or may not put a lien, and that's when I spoke with Commissioner Cox about it briefly, and I tried calling the DEQ, and they said, "Well, I don't know. I'll look into it and I'll call you back." And I just never heard back from them. I'm sure they're busy, but that's where that was. And then we came to an agreement where um, we had a quitclaim deed drawn up, and his attorney was just finishing it up, and he spoke with the county here. Um, was it Anneliesa? And then he gave me her number, but she said, "Hey, we took it in 2023, or it was put up for auction. No one bid on it. I mean, a lot of people don't even know what that type of property is. I mean, it just has one use and one use only, really. Um, other than grazing. Um, and so I said, well, let me call up, and in talking, it was just, and that's why I'm here, is I need to find out, is it with the county? Is it still with him? Do I have him pursue it still to have a clean way to transfer ownership of that property, or a cleaner way to, or a different way to transfer ownership? Or is this something that is on the books showing that, the county owns it? Because I haven't seen that, but I don't work for the county, and I don't know the ins and outs of your but where that's at,
Would you mind if I jump in this conversation?
I do not mind at all.
Anneliesa Peart, Rich County Clerk Auditor. Okay, so I've got some information from our attorney on what we need to do to transfer it into the name of the county. So it says it's in. So we had a delinquent parcel, mineral rights for a tax sale, and there were no buyers. When this happens, lot statute 59.2 the auditor can strike off the property to the county. So the attorney gave me some directions on that. What I do is I'll execute the deed for the property sold under the subsection in the name of the county and attest by seal vesting in the purchaser of all the title of all taxing entities and real estate sold. So basically I need to do my part to get it into the name of the county, and then we can, I invited him today so that he could see if you would accept an offer of purchase for that. Or if we want to do just the quitclaim deed with the
And
original owner.
and that's the other thing is with the quitclaim deed, the original quitclaim deed states Crawford Mountain Properties Inc., comma, a Utah corporation. Well, the Utah corporation is no longer, so that's part of what his attorney is getting redrawn up. So it's a legal entity, so the paperwork would be, would be clear on it. But I'm just here to get advice and or at least talk it over and see what you guys would prefer to do or what you're willing to do. So, and I didn't announce my name. It's Paul Hales, but maybe.
Yeah, so once it went up for sale because of delinquent taxes and there was no bidders on it, it becomes the county's property.
Yeah, the paperwork was never, I needed to know how to do it. Now I know how to do it, so it can be in the county's name, so.
Okay, so that needs to go into the county's name. And then at that point in time, the discussion would be, is that we would advertise it, I guess. That the county has a patent for sale. Is that right, Ben? Would we have to advertise it?
I think the statute just says that we can sell it. I think if you would have to set bids on that.
Yeah, because it's not you're not paying the back taxes now to own it. Now it's
Now, it
property.
belongs to the county, so you can sell it at market rates, whatever it is that you choose.
and it's a patent mineral lease.
It's patented mining claims. Back in before 1977, you used to be able to do a mining claim.
So it's
And
not
now
surface.
It's surface. They're load claims. And so, and I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I didn't want to say, oh, well, it's just a lease. It's not.
Would
a
that
lease.
convert it to
That's-
private property? A patent mining claim?
Would what?
Because it's BLM right now?
No,
What is it? It's just private property?
it's private property.
Oh, geez.
So
Is it at along the hill? Who runs on it now? Is it there where Burdett's at, or
Yeah, it's from back in
is it under his fence?
It's on it curves around the side of Crawford Mountain property range up onto Kings Peak.
Where all those underground mines were?
And see, and that's part of the thing we discussed is what, even though we came to a fiscal agreement, what detrimental things am I going to have to address? Am I going to have to spend? I talked to Commissioner Cox about it a little bit, and is this going to, maybe break me a little bit for a while? But it could or could not. I don't know. One of the tunnels that I saw the picture of when they did the reclamation, I mean, they had a track go in it with the arm extended out.
That's nice.
and it was a pretty big tunnel. So I don't know what the workings are. I've heard about subsidence out there, but for those are things I'd like to deal with. And so that's the only thing is I wouldn't have pursued it if that had been transferred over. I wouldn't have been trying to get a hold of the owner and make a deal with them. And so now I'm just seeing if you guys be willing to allow that to happen, or if you're gonna go
I'd
through
like
that
to,
part because it's hasn't been.
I'd like to see if, a map. I know
Do you want to gravel?
the drift of cattle from out east to a lot of the ranchers in Rich County. They drift from BLM to their home range through that area.
Up over the Crawford Mountain.
Mhm. And if someone was to come in and buy it and fence it off, that'd be horrible.
Well, they couldn't fence it off. I've had to deal with that. Those are, I imagine they've been used for 60 or 100 years, those roads out there. So I think Stephen S. Bradley did the claims in 1908. It couldn't be, you couldn't fence that off. That's just, it's a public road, public right of way.
My dad and my brothers and I owned neighboring along that Crawford Mountain.
On this,
And we went up there when I was young, and we would throw our dead critters down in those old abandoned mine holes, and you could hear them go for minutes before they finally, I mean, that's that deep.
yeah.
And they come in and reclaimed them and covered them up and stuff, but some have fell in again,
And that's what
caved in.
I've heard that there like there's fence or old fence that's going up over a hole.
And fell in the hole.
And I was gonna go over there, depending on how this turns out, I was gonna go over there and look at it again. And I mean, that's, you guys keep your roads maintained like I've never seen before. Your dirt roads are just flatter in my head, really. They're nice. I mean, I don't know if you guys are using that stuff they're using down south for, instead of asphalt, they're using that chip rock, or I can't remember what they're using, but so that's where I'm at. You guys can do as you will, but I have come to an agreement with the owner I thought owned it, and unless this happens, that if the county owned it last year, it was at $8,800 when I came up here, or so, in back taxes and fees, and then it went up to 9,600. Now I think it's at 10,200. Well, are you guys taxing yourself, or are you taxing him?
So
You know,
right now,
yeah, that's the question.
it never did get transferred. It's how it would, whether or not we wanted to put it back up on the May tax sale, right? We kind of been sitting on it without doing anything. In my opinion, and I'm not a legal expert, but in my opinion, this would be something we've previously advertised. And I think we could kind of handle it the same way we would do a May tax sale, which is the taxes are delinquent. He comes in, he pays those off, and becomes the new owner. We create a deed. So that's how it makes sense in my mind to process the transaction. And so I wanted to make sure that we were legal to do that, but
Well, that's what do I tell I guess I tell the guy he's out.
Yeah, it's too late for that. Because I've been here this is my 5th year, and that whole time we've been trying to.
Discussing.
We pulled it from the sale twice.
That's
Just because we were trying to define, and we had not been able to make contact with this Crawford Mountain Properties. And
yeah,
so-
it's a David Frohnheiser. His dad, James J. Frohnheiser, was the guy that signed the original quitclaim deed with Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. But he's, they're in Pennsylvania, and it wasn't that easy to get a hold of him. Cause you guys send the information to an attorney's office and they send that on to or a law firm. And then they send that on to Dave and his family. And I guess the one thing I asked the county recorder, I said, well, what's going on? It should be quite a bit more than this. And I guess the taxes had been forgiven a number of times for that tax year for whatever reason through the recorder's office, or I don't know what office it goes through, but
So,
Are you hoping to mine it? Is that what you want to do?
maybe, but the initially what I was thinking is more, well, first see what it's going to take to close off the tunnels and the shafts and that.
Yeah, reclaim
Make
it.
sure no one dies, and then all of a sudden I'm homeless because I'm sued.
that's what I was wondering if, because those holes are constantly, more of them are
Popping
caving
up.
in, and would you, I guess you would be responsible for those.
Yeah.
So, has the technology for like phosphate, what it was mined before, is it easier now to mine that kind of stuff?
It's the same process. They take it out. It has to be a certain grade, and I don't know if that grade's there. Now I'm just looking at initially assessing, seeing what's going on, possibly bringing back some of the grass that should be there. When I went up there the other day, I went up along Kings Peak, and they've got that big strip mine there, so you can see what the ore is or was. And I mean, that is something that I would like to pursue. I'm not gonna hedge about that at some point if that is something that's pursuable. If it's not, then it's just gonna be green space and maybe I'll run a couple head of cattle on it or something, but I doubt it. Because it used to be, from what I'd read, there used to be antelope, bison, and elk were common out there back in the early 1900s. Now, obviously, bison are been gone since 1923 or so. Um, but yeah, I mean, that is something I would look to do, Mr. Lee, and maybe do that, and maybe bring some income into the, uh, some revenue into the county. But it just all depends on if it's I don't even know if it's feasible. I haven't tested anything. I don't have any of the old reports. I just saw this neglected piece of ground that hasn't been really maintained for 34 years, and it just seems silly to let it sit fallow and not do something for the
What's
county.
the acreage on that? Do you know?
I don't,
Like the parcel.
I can
Si-
have.
It's about 674.
674. As far as the county is concerned, we're trying to collect taxes on it. If he
Well, we were, but now, if we assume ownership, it becomes an asset that, maybe you could talk about some type of private-public partnership. If there is something produced out of there's some type of royalties that, that the county could make some money off, it's different now. I guess I didn't realize that for $9,000 you could have got the property, it's something, I would have been interested in buying it, but we're past that point now.
Well, technically, as far as ownership goes, it's still Crawford Mountain, right? I mean, I have to do this process right here. So I guess really this conversation is, what does the county want to do with that property? And are we willing to take his offer of purchase?
And if not, I mean, obviously you can go that route, but the other route is like I said, I've come to an agreement with Frohnheiser and Crawford Mountain Properties Inc., and I could get it done that way. But like I said, that's my whole purpose of coming up here is to fill you guys out, see what's going to work. Because if I get ownership, I want to be able to work with the county.
Yeah.
And so it benefits you guys and it benefits me in the long run. I mean, I'd probably have maybe 30, 40 years left on this earth, but you know, it'd be an exciting thing to do. But yeah, that's just it. I wouldn't have pursued it if I didn't believe or hadn't been told that Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. was still the owner through the county and the state.
Yeah.
Or else I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have called him or
Well, Paul, I think we definitely like if we did want it to be mine, we'd want to sell it to somebody who is interested like you. You know, we don't want to just we would want to work with somebody who would take care of it. And but I think we probably need to discuss this now that it's entered the realm of an asset a little bit longer.
well, and that's the other thing is it could be an asset or it could be a giant liability.
Yeah, it's been a liability to
Has
forever.
anyone been hurt?
No,
Yeah.
not since the mine closed.
Yeah, I'm sure that they had some collapses and
They did. There was a lot of Randolph people, Rich County men died in there.
I'd read up on a few of those. Where one, I think one, well, yeah, it wasn't. It's a different method of not processing because you wouldn't process anything up there. It's phosphate is not a clean ore. It would be something you would want to take to.
Well,
If you end up doing it, is you're over into Wyoming.
yeah, that's the way they did is they shipped it out,
Just raw ore, take it to somebody else to
brought it out of the hill.
And that was,
Right.
and I did read up the reason why one of the reasons why they stopped, even though 77 is kind of where the gas prices went, kind of from 50 to 75 cents a gallon or so, or remember when that made interest rates go nuts. But the quality went down and there was a water table. Anytime you deal with a water table, I think that was on the north end where they're strip mining it. I think they're hitting water table. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're coming in at an interesting time where Simplot is slowly moving further south. You know, they're in like Star Valley. They got a big mine there now. And mostly phosphates. There's a lot of, I think would be a lot of interest in it, but yeah, I don't know.
and I've avoided talking to any type of corporation like that until well I got a call from David the other day and he said, well, I just called the county and they're telling me this and I'm like, well then slow down on your side. You know, although we've had expenses and costs, not a great amount, but they are costs. And I just didn't want to keep building it up and then just throw money out the window. And
Yeah.
but I am. That is the one thing I would want to do is what I would suggest or what I would wish to do is allow him to get the because I think it'd be the cleanest way to transfer ownership because it's I own some other mining property in Box Elder and it's not similar to this but kind of similar. Ranches were around it, ranchers are around it, and it was somewhat difficult. And that took 17 years to be able to get that into a marketable position. I'm not saying this would, but it may. I mean, I'm on my 18th year with that and about 8 months into a lease.
What minerals is that you're doing there?
Well, it's like it's the old benches of Lake Bonneville,
Okay.
like Geneva at the point of the mountain, that sand and gravel. Then it has really high grade limestone, which is 98.6% calcium carbonate, which is almost feed grade for cattle. It has 99.4% calcium carbonate, which I had tested at Desert Labs down in St. George. And it was just barely, even though 99.4%, it was barely below what it would be required for pills. Like, so, but that's that's my whole thing. So it's
Calcium.
either whatever.
That's like Tums or like like antacid.
Well, any type of pill, like Tylenol, yeah. That's what they add to it, is a
Yeah.
high grade calcium carbonate. If you know, generally it's white, looks like marble. It's like marbleized limestone. So if you know of some, it has a
Crazy that you
great
just
value.
eat that stuff.
Huh?
It's weird you'd eat that stuff to make your stomach feel better, but
Oh, it's just calcium carbonate.
yeah.
But they did mine zinc and lead out there. That's what they used to mine. And I'm not touching that stuff.
So
That's,
I think we need to think about it. What do you guys think, Bill?
I'd like to do a little more research on it.
That's my thoughts.
Well, the real issue is where we're at with the tax sale, where we didn't get, the other issue about it is we obviously sent out tax notices and we probably never got any responses back whatsoever from, Crawford Mountain Properties.
I can look at the 2023 main tax sale stuff to see what we received back from them, if they received notice. Obviously, they do know that it's delinquent.
How would they know that?
they're sending the notices through a law firm based in Boston. And even though they're in Pennsylvania, they're that's where the law firm handles them.
So,
But at this point, you're right. And I asked Anneliesa, I said, well, then if you guys took it over, why, why have I wasted 7 months of my life? Not wasted, but, pursued this for 6, 7 months when the county is still saying that Crawford Mountain Properties Inc. still owns it. And that's why I pursued it. That's, if I would have known that the hadn't just been forgiven, but you'd done a tax sale, and that you're saying that you own the property, I would not have, made a deal with
And the reason that happened was
Frohnheiser.
we weren't sure of
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
not-
Most people don't know what type of
Right.
that's this type of property is. It's like homesteading. If
Yeah.
you buy homesteaded property, it's like patented acreage. You own the mineral rights.
Yeah.
Unless the government, when they gave you your deed, excluded the mineral rights. But if they didn't, like a lot of ranchers, they don't realize that. But
So Paul, I think what we need to decide on the commission is if we're gonna strike that off to the county ownership, or if we're gonna sell it as a tax sale. We're at where we have the authority to do either one. We're in that junction. And I think we need to think about it a little bit longer and maybe discuss it.
well, I know he told me the Utah corporation that he had his attorney redrawing up it was going to take 5 to 10 business days. And I spoke to him. When did we talk? It was last week, Tuesday, maybe. So he could have already redrawn it. And
But I think they've lost all say in what happens at this point. It's been too long. So we have to decide whether we are going to sell it as a tax sale or take ownership of it. That's
well,
I'm not sure it matters
if
what
you
anybody
guys
else
took
does.
ownership, then why aren't you on title? If that
We're at the point where we need to decide if we're going to do
If
that
you're gonna
or
go on
yeah,
title
but
and
it's in
sell
our
taxes.
hands and we need to talk about it.
Okay.
There is no deadline on.
Oh,
getting
there's
it to-
okay.
Once
So
nobody buys it,
once that
it's a-
happens,
We have to
just
make a move.
open ended until it just
Right.
gets finalized. So if he would have done something last year and
The
gotten
last time it was advertised for a tax sale was last year,
2023.
2023.
2023. Yeah, that would have been, but before then it was every year before that it was advertised.
And I think he's since gotten a tax notice last year, 2024.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why it's cloudy. It's just, or else he wouldn't have pursued it, and I wouldn't have pursued it. He just said, no, talk to the county, then I don't know that I would have.
Yeah. Well, if we did, I mean, I think we'd probably have the option of putting it back on the tax sale, and now I think you probably generated more interest than what happens. And so,
And we were in over a head on that mineral lease sale. We didn't know. That's why it's
I thought it
taken
was
so
just
long.
the right to mine on public land.
Well, and I wasn't gonna come in and be deceptive about that and say, oh, yeah, it's just a lease from the government, because that's just no way to start a relationship.
But yeah, 674 acres, even on dangerous property, is people are going to want it. So I don't know. I would make a motion that we discuss this and definitely contact Paul if we decide to issue it as a tax sale or even a private sale. Give him the option, give him the chance to make a deal. But we need to definitely. I'll make a motion that we do not make a decision at this moment, and we discuss this at a different time with the county attorney.
So your motion is to table it until more information can be
Yes,
gathered.
thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion to be tabled until
Maybe even next month.
next month. And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, well, I'll let them know.
And we'll involve you in the process of what we do.
Well, it's at this point, I'm not gonna compete with everyone else on
Yeah.
this. I was dealing directly with the person I believe was the owner. And that was confirmed.
And I think,
as the
remember,
owner.
even if it were to go to a tax sale, it's still, you have to have even very valuable properties. There's not a lot of people that come up to Ridge County. So it's,
Mm,
I want to count yourself.
someone will come up with the money. I guarantee you that. All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner
Yeah.
Cox, Commissioner Weston,
Thank you.
Commissioner Lee.
Hope we didn't waste your time.
Well, a little bit. That's all right. No, it's a nice drive up here. So, Anneliesa, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So you guys give me a holler then, or
Yeah.
Yes.
We-
let me know
touch.
one way or another? And if that were to happen, would that happen next year? Or is that something that?
If it were to be on the tax sale, it'd probably be this.
No,
No.
No, it'd
no.
be next year.
Tax sales already, the list already out, tax sale set for next.
I doubt it's a tax sale.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just didn't want to come
But
in.
but
I saw the lease. I was like,
but
Right.
it wouldn't have to be on a tax sale.
I just didn't want to, do
Yeah.
anything like that. So, all right.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Ben.
Okay. Hello, guys.
Fine.
That was
State,
interesting.
state your name and
Just on that last one, we probably need to look at what is the parcel that went up to tax sale? Was it just the mineral rights? Can you maybe pull those documents together?
Yeah, I can show you exactly.
so that's why I couldn't even say right today, because is it just mineral rights or is it the surface all along?
Well, if it's a patented, that's when he said, he clarified, I think for the record, patented, and that's when it threw me off. Because that's different.
So whatever it is, it was a parcel with a tax ID number, and that parcel became delinquent, went up for tax sale, correct? 2023, no purchasers,
So it is
and
a
at that
parcel.
point can be stricken over to the county. It probably is something that we should do
Is that it, Bill?
Yeah,
sooner rather than
Look this
later.
up. See, because when I looked this up, there's no like property lines defined. No.
So I can go, I can process, I can proceed to strike it with your go ahead.
It just shows all BLM up there. That's why I'm not getting where this is.
Figure out what is the parcel that is attached to that tax ID number. What was the thing that went up to what was advertised as going up on the 2023 tax sale? Those would be some things that we'd want to find out.
well, most patents define either the land use or, for example, here's a good example. State Parks has a patent for BLM over on the west side of the lake. Their patent only deals with surface. So when State Parks was selling gravel out of there, that was not part of the patent that was issued to them,
Which is
because
what the
all
lady-
they had was surface rights.
Okay.
I'm guessing this patent probably only deals with minerals and not surface.
That's what we understood when we did the research on it before. But
How in the heck would you
looked
do
at it
that
more.
with no surface?
You'd have to negotiate with whoever owns.
It's like doing a 100-year lease on property you don't own.
But that's the other part of it is when you have patents, you take on the responsibility of reclamation.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, there's
Probably
some,
with some updated laws now.
there's some liability that, I mean, there's been some money dumped into it, and they were, this Crawford Mountain Properties, was their, reclamation. I mean, that was part of the patent that was issued. That was why they dumped a bunch of money in trying to fill in those in those caverns. So really probably what we need to do is go back and see if we can find out when it was issued from the BLM and find out what the BLM has in their records of what was actually issued, whether it was just mining and subsurface or surface was included.
They did both. They did the tunnels and the strip mining.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. So
Because if it's surface as well, that's obviously more valuable, right? Because then it's your property.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
that's one of the reasons it's where it's at, because it's been one of those things
We'll figure it out.
different to deal with.
Okay, I just have 2 items on for discussion today, no action. And then after we discuss it, if you want them put on maybe next month or something for action. So the first one is our sanitation ordinance, which we enacted in 2015. And Bill brought up a concern. What were the specifics, Bill, that somebody?
Well, the specifics where we were charging a garbage fee for people who had not been issued a can. So they were not receiving any services, but they were still being charged for services.
And I think that particular person owned a vacant lot.
No, he owns several homes that he's built in a subdivision.
With no one in
But
them.
had not yet.
And has not sold them, and so there is no garbage being generated by them.
Okay.
And so,
And
but
some don't even have a can.
well, most don't. The ones that the ones we're charging for that he's concerned about is they don't have a can. They're vacant. He's not renting them, and we're charging for services that we're not providing.
Okay. All right. So the question then is, make a little tweak to address that situation. The current ordinance from 2015 only says this. The owner and occupant of land located in the county are hereby determined to be liable for the payment of said fee. And the fee is one set by resolution by the commission. So right now, the owner and occupant of land pays the fee. Nothing, no nuance about that would cover that situation. So, one idea, and did you attach copies already?
I did.
Oh,
yes,
good,
I have them.
good job, thank you. Do you have this copy here that has the interlineation of the proposed changes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, this amendment makes some stylistic changes just to kind of make this look like our more recent ordinances.
Oh, right here.
It proposes in section 1 just a repeal and replace. And then under section 4 is a liability of fees. So maybe as a starting point, the proposal would be each owner and occupant of land located in the county is liable for the payment of said service fee. And then this next sentence is the big change. The liability for the fee begins at the earlier of issuance of a certificate of occupancy or 2, when the owner begins to receive trash collection services. And we can have that sentence read anything you want to try to fix
It
that.
probably should be, it begins with both of those, because I
Both.
do think those houses have a certificate of occupancy, but
Not
but they
yet
haven't received
occupied.
trash services.
Okay.
Is that what you guys think?
Yeah, that's where they're at. They've got it. I mean, you could move in tomorrow. They've, you know,
But
they've
nobody's
been
there.
finished. He's got it
So
for
under
sale.
this, they would still be charged.
Okay. So if we change that to say the liability for the fee begins when,
When both
Both
of those
of
should be
those things.
satisfied.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
and what you want to avoid is people saying like, in the winter, I'm going to cancel my service because we're not up here.
Well, yeah,
Because these are averaged fees
Right.
that are paid across the board. We don't charge per can per dump. And I think that would, once you have a certificate of occupancy and I'm assuming there's some process where you notify the county that you would now like a can issued. Is that accurate?
Yeah. We're working on it.
Okay. So if we got this on next month and had that one line say the liability for the fee begins when, number 1, there's issuance of a certificate of occupancy and the owner begins to receive trash collection services. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll work with Anneliesa to get it noticed up for a public hearing next month, if I can make it back up here. And we'll get that small change made.
Okay.
Any other thoughts about that before we move on?
I have some little changes, but they're just things like the dumpster sizes. There's some of those we don't have. These are from Lynn and Steve at the sanitation. I'll send you a list, but they're not like changes to the law. It's just numbers that need to change on.
Now's a great time to,
Well,
because we're gonna have that hearing.
Let me see if I can pull.
Are you talking under the definitions on section 5?
Yeah, like we don't have a 2.5 yard dumpster. And then like section 4, the container, we only have 96 gallon cans, or that's all that we provide.
So are you saying under section 5?
Yeah.
The definition
Section
of
4 on containers, let's see, section 5, well, sorry, I have this all summarized in one document and it looks like it's wrong. Oh, yeah, it's same thing under section 5, the definition, like residential container, we just have like a 96 gallon. I know they're little things, but I was just trying to clean it up.
Yeah, sure. So if we change the F to 96,
Yeah, and then we have the commercial dumpsters, we have a 3, 6, and an 8 yard sizes,
commercial dumpster 3, 6, or 8.
mostly 6 and 8, but
So if we said
3 to
3
8.
to 8,
Yeah. While we're doing this stuff.
about commercial containers, that's still 300 gallon?
Yeah, there's a few of those out there still.
Yeah, they're floating around.
Okay. 6. Okay. Might as well knock it out next meeting. Anything else that,
No, there's some small stuff, but I think the other things I have would require a heavy lift, but we'll have to talk about. It's not something we can do in a month, and it's. I wasn't planning on talking about it right now.
okay,
I'm not quite ready.
sounds good. All right, I'll make those changes. I'll email you a proposed draft and we'll get it noticed up for a public hearing soon.
Okay.
Okay, that was easy. The next one is, I think, if we turn to proposed personnel policy 5-600. Do you guys have that in your packets?
The drug testing.
Good job
Awesome.
getting those out. Thank you. So we have a really great personnel policy handbook. It's all current and up to date. And it's easy to make small changes or additions by just creating a new policy to insert in. We don't currently have any policy specific to drug and alcohol testing. and the issue kind of arose this month, that kind of highlighted that we probably should have something like that. And so this is a proposal that is based heavily off of what Davis County has been using. Do you want to just take a few minutes and I'll walk you through it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
You can assume that we trust you mostly and that we just need to implement this, but
Okay. Well,
fast.
I'll go through pretty quick.
Okay.
All right.
I would love all the no, I can read it.
Okay. So there is a lot of law, both state and federal, that already governs this space. There's even an act in Utah that's called the Local Government Entity Drug-Free Workplace Policies Act. Pretty darn specific.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do all the lifting here, but some things we should address. So let's turn to Section 3, use of medical marijuana. The state of Utah, for better or worse, whether we agree or not, has decided to treat medical marijuana from someone who has a valid card the same way that we would treat all prescription controlled substance medication. If we have an employee that's on Ritalin or alprazolam or something, it's the same. And so this just makes clear that that's how we're treating medical marijuana, unless there is also evidence, this is under 3A, that the employee was impaired or that the medical or the marijuana adversely affected the employee's job performance. So, and that is allowable under the state law. So if they come in and they have some signs of impairment, that could be a disciplinary issue. B would be new, that the responsibility is on them if they have a positive test for THC, that they have to quickly provide us their medical marijuana card. And then 3C would be new, that even with a medical marijuana card, you're not allowed to use on the job. And are not allowed to be using it 12 hours before reporting for work. Section 4, this is what kind of came up this month, was the CDL issue. This is all heavily regulated through the federal act on commercial driver's licenses. But one thing that we have to do is we have to designate, in that federal act, there's one employee at the county who needs to be designated as the Designated Employment Representative, or the DER. And that person has certain roles and responsibilities under the federal law whenever there's an issue with a CDL driver who works for us, who is testing positive for controlled substances. And the proposal is to have that person be the county clerk. Hearing no objections from the box over there, that is good. So we need to take that action under 4C. 5 is about pre-employment testing. 6 is random testing. That an employee who's randomly selected must report for testing during the time frame directed by their supervisor or department head. 7 is new. We're allowed to do reasonable suspicion testing. This would be not random, but maybe there's a issue on a certain day with a certain employee, and somebody's saying, "Hey, I think this guy is impaired today." If it's a CDL driver, then the responsibility would be the DER representative to require that person to go test. For everybody else, just the supervisor or department head would require them to go report for a test. We would remove that person from work until the test results come back, and make sure that they're escorted to the test and home, so there's no issue on liability. Section 8, post-accident testing. Anytime there's an accident, if they are directed by their department head, or if the accident resulted in property damage caused by human error, or resulted in injury to another, that they have to go get a post-accident test. Section 9, criminal convictions, requires employees to notify us if they have a criminal conviction anywhere in the world regarding drugs or alcohol. Section 10, time period for testing, directs um, their supervisors, department heads to have employees who are required to test for any reason to do so as quickly as possible. And directs that if the concern is alcohol, we should do it faster, inside 8 hours. If the concern is drugs, we should do it within 24 hours, just to give some guidance to supervisors on kind of the burn rate for drugs and alcohol. Section 11 specifies that the county gets to pick whether we're doing saliva, urine, blood, or breath test, that it's our prerogative to pick. It sets out the same cutoff thresholds that the state of Utah is using for criminal purposes. It sets out the threshold for alcohol as a 0.05, which is the same Utah criminal purposes. That to refuse to provide a test is considered positive. Refusal occurs when the person fails to give adequate sample without a valid medical explanation, when they refuse to be escorted, when they tamper with the sample or process or dilute it, when they refuse to sign a chain of custody form, or when they provide a dilute sample without a valid medical explanation. F states that we also consider metabolite tests to be positive. A metabolite is when the controlled substance is in your system, but it's the byproduct of the controlled substance, so it's no longer chemically active. But it shows that recently the controlled substance was in your blood. Testing, time spent on testing is work time. The county pays for initial tests, including a retest when requested. And that the employee can request a retest. Section 13, failure to comply with this policy or providing a positive sample are both considered violations of the standard of conduct for employment and may subject the employee to employment discipline up to and including termination if deemed appropriate. So I think that this little short policy would fill all of the obvious gaps on drug testing in their workplace. Any questions or concerns? Anything we're missing?
Looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. We would enact.
Do we need to have something in there that talks about a third-party administrator for clearinghouse's purposes?
Not in here. I mean, it's all in the federal act that we use the third party. I wanted to try to avoid like rewriting all of the law that applies to
This alludes to the act that
it
talks about-
references and incorporates it, and that third party clearinghouse administrator is from the Federal Motor Carrier Act. And so, and we got that worked out, right?
We're still in the process, but yes.
Okay. So if there's no questions or proposed changes, other topics you want addressed or changed, we would notice this up at a subsequent meeting, and you could just enact it with a resolution. If once enacted, we'll have a copy sent to each employee of the county, posted online, and it'll become part of our handbook going forward.
No public hearing needed for that.
Nope,
Okay.
just a resolution.
Okay.
Okay, make a motion that we put a drug resolution on our next agenda for June, whatever, 6th, 4th.
Oh, second that.
Okay, moving second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And
Sorry, just clarifying, it's not a public hearing, it's going to just be on the agenda as a new policy.
Oh,
And
Can ask.
for
Drug test.
consideration of that resolution to enact it, if employees want to come and ask to give comments, they can, but it's not a public hearing. Okay. That's great. And then John,
Okay, thank you.
why don't you read that and give me a call? I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
The short answer is, I think you should just go ahead and make the repairs.
Okay. I'll just canyon trail.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sounds good. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, actually, yes, really quick.
Mhm.
I need to talk to these guys, but I think we need to do the resolution increasing our TRT tax, the extra 2.5%, so we can participate in that grant program. A lot of business owners are, or a lot of Airbnb owners are wanting us to do it sooner so they don't have to go back. You know, it enacts quicker. But we need to talk about these guys. I think it can just be done via resolution according to the new law.
Yeah, okay.
The,
And I don't know if we need a public hearing for that, but we would need it next month.
is this are we talking about the,
It's a new tax.
Transit room tax has now, it can be increased another 0.25%, and you have to collect that maximum rate to participate in a new rural grant program that they're setting up that the state is
okay.
collecting.
Has to be done by the 1st of July.
Okay, so this isn't related to the one that we did in January. What, that was a sales tax issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just our old TRT tax that we did.
House Bill
5 years ago.
456.
This is just increasing another 0.25%, so it makes 4.5%.
Okay. Do you have any information on that? You can send me.
Like I said, I think it's House Bill 456. And
Bill
it's changed the whole how TRT's handled, but all it does for us is we need to go to the maximum rate to
Whatever the new max rate is.
to participate in that grant program they set up for rural counties.
You want to try to do it next month if we can do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to.
We probably should have done it this month, but we were all busy.
I'll pull House Bill 456 and see if I can get up to speed. If I can't, I'll give you a call because I'll need more information.
Yeah, I think they even have like press releases. It was a lot of people involved.
And what was the name of the grant? Rural.
Oh, rural up. I can't remember. I can't. 456 will something else.
All right, we'll get that on next month too, and I'll call you if I have any questions about it.
It's emergency services. You can apply for funding to be reimbursed for emergency services is what it is.
Only if you collect the maximum rate. Otherwise, there might
It's
not
it's a
even be-
fund. It's a fund like if
Salt Lake County, like all the counties are paying into it, but it's for class 3 and
three
above.
326. Yeah.
All right, should be no problem.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
it.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Anneliesa.
Bye.
Travis, would you be opposed? Are you in a hurry?
You guys get.
Can we let mom come first?
But I was just.
I can see she's stressing and she don't need to
I
be.
was just gonna say, like, do that. It really.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you. And you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. So I'm Oakley, Siddoway.
Hey, Oakley. Tell us a little bit about the Wildflower Boutique.
So I just graduated from Paul Mitchell Beauty School and to be a nail technician. So I'm just wanting to do nails at my house so that I can stay home with her and have an income.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I even have. So you're on that house that's like around the turn, the big
Yeah.
turn? Okay.
The red one,
Yeah.
Miles.
really old. Val's old house, yes.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
So I thought you were at Wildflower. I was expecting you to be selling flowers.
No,
Like hydro
I just
seeding
like
stuff.
wildflowers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So you'll do it in your home.
Yes.
There's no parking issues.
No, but I have just a driveway, one person at a time, so. And then it shouldn't up the traffic too much. I think my father-in-law just he got the butcher shop like about a year ago, and that's probably
A lot.
upgraded it a
Yeah.
lot more for you guys than this would.
And the number of employees, that's you.
Just me.
Number one.
Is Falula Road a county road?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'd make a motion that we grant a business license to the Wildfire Boutique.
Wildflower Boutique. I second that.
Okay, moving second that we approve the business license. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, stop in the teller, Anneliesa.
I need to get that prepped, so we can, will you stop in the treasurer's office and say you're paying for a business license?
Yes.
And then I will get that.
Okay.
So mail that to you.
Okay.
It's ready.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Travis, you got one more in you?
Yeah, sure.
Because this will be quick. Come on, Stephanie. Sorry, Travis.
No, you're good.
But I think we're gonna grill you a little worse than we will Stephanie.
I don't know.
Okay, then I'll go.
Got a whole bunch of questions here for Stephanie.
James, state
hand
your
out.
name and what you're doing for us.
I am Stephanie Hopkins here for Best Life Wellness LLC, applying for a business license.
Okay.
I have handouts. Do you want handouts?
Sure. So is this just your business, Stephanie?
Yes.
then? But you have to be under a medical director to do it?
Correct.
Okay.
So Nancy Weston is my medical director. She kind of, we've worked together, come up with an order because I can't administer medication without a licensed provider ordering it for me. We're a nurse. So we have that all in line.
I didn't realize about what this type did until Joe Jean needed it. And she had somebody come to the house and start an IV, and
Yeah.
she was really sick, and it really helped. And
Yeah. Well, good.
that's a wonderful service.
Yeah, it is. And it's really big in a lot of places. It's kind of a growing thing. It's, I wouldn't say new, but it's a little bit newer, definitely new to this area.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good for sickness. And then it's also good in the preventative form of, there's been a lot of studies that are showing promising things, especially with the NAD plus, about prevention of like, and even reversal a little bit of like diabetes, Alzheimer's, neuropathy, things like that.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. I've been pleasantly surprised with the response that I've gotten.
Do you have to have a prescription to do this, or how does that work?
No, I do on my orders from Nancy, I do like a patient has to fill out a history. And if they meet any of the kind of flag criteria, like any kidney problems, congestive heart failure, fluid restrictions, that kind of thing, then I won't do the infusion until they follow up with the doctor and make sure that it's okay. And preferably Nancy, because we're on a communicating basis, but yeah, certain things like that. Otherwise, it's just more supplemental. I don't give any narcotics. I don't give any other than they're just IV vitamins, basically, is what they are. Other than the Toradol and the Zofran. The Toradol is just a yeah, it's not a narcotic, it's just an NSAID, kind of like an IV ibuprofen type thing, and Zofran's for anti-nausea.
I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just throwing this out there, my gift certificates are on sale, and Mother's Day is Sunday. Just kidding.
Public record now.
I don't see one on here for THC. There's nothing.
No THC, dang it. That's off label there. I did do a better,
Yes.
more professional business
We'll have that one
license.
on the record.
Yes. But I didn't get her soon.
Did you already give it to her or no?
Yeah.
You have this? Okay, never mind.
Okay.
So just walk me through the process. So gift certificate. So a person just contacts you directly.
Yes.
You go through an evaluation to make sure that did you just do that over the phone, or is that something you'll have to do in person?
To actually get the infusion, you would need to actually do it in person. I do like check vital signs, do a quick assessment, that kind of thing.
And if there's no red flags, then you can just go ahead with whatever.
Yeah,
they-
yeah. My standing orders have like the exact like dosages and of what to give. Some of the vitamins you can, most of the time, if you get too much of it, you just excrete it out. But there are some where there are max dose limits to receive the maximum. You know, you want to receive less than the maximum dose in a week. And so with those, I watch a little closer. I don't have people coming more than once a week usually, but
Would this be done in their home or was it at your house?
they can come to my house if they would like. I haven't had anyone do that. Usually I go to their home. Right now Nancy in her clinic isn't working on Wednesdays and Fridays, so I've been there on Wednesdays and Fridays, and that's where I've done most of them. But I can go to their homes. Eventually I would like to maybe find a place in Garden City or something where I could do 1 day a week there, or a couple times a month or something.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
Nope, I'll make a motion that we approve the business license to Best Life Wellness LLC.
Second.
Moving seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you very much. You guys were
Thanks for coming in.
so scary.
Oh, no, not hardly.
You were.
Pay at Lee's office.
Okay.
And then I'll give you the
Perfect.
license.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Travis.
We've got 2 other. Next year, I'm gonna do those business licenses.
Yeah, I'm good. See, like, if you guys want to, yeah, knock them out.
Are you sure, Travis?
Yep.
We'll buy him lunch.
Yeah. All right.
Then I won't feel bad about it.
Katelyn, come on up. State your name and
Katelyn Broberg, and I'm just trying to get a business license for Bear Lake Lawn Care and Maintenance.
You'll be in Garden City.
Yeah, just small lawns.
And some
lawn
snow
care,
removal.
maintenance, and snow.
Yeah, we've got all of the insurance figured out, so we're like, yeah, let's do some snow removal. Mostly small stuff, you know, just in people's driveways. We have a little, gosh, I can't think of the word right now. What is it? Remove snow.
Snow blower.
That's it. I had a stroke, and so now words just, they don't work. But
So, you said you've got your insurance figured out. So does that mean that you've got some liability insurance?
yeah, it covers us for 1 million per
Okay.
incident, up to 2 million.
Okay. What we would like to see on that is, if you would, just get a copy of that would go with your business license, just to verify.
Do I get it just Anneliesa?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, just to verify that you've
Yeah.
got liability
Okay,
insurance.
perfect. Okay, and I don't know what else.
Snow removal, I wish you did it, you know, I just hope you're doing a lot of that, you know.
Snow removal, yeah.
A ton, I'm sure.
You know, just hopefully get some snow sometime.
Yeah, I just don't want it right now.
No,
My flowers will start.
next December.
So you guys don't have a business location, it's just out of your,
Yeah, so we just have a little enclosed trailer that we take to people's houses whenever they need, like say
okay.
their lawn mowed or something else done, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty low maintenance sort of thing.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, I'd make a motion that we grant Bear Lake Lawn Care and Maintenance LLC a business license for lawn care and snow removal.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, moving seconded that we give Bear Lake Lawn Care and Maintenance LLC a business license. All in favor say aye.
All right,
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
So
Awesome.
you
I just go to
The
treasurer's office. Okay, Thank you.
$50.
fine. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Noah and Nate, come on up.
What's up, brethren?
What's up, guys? Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, state your name and what you're
Nate Parry.
No, Parry.
This is just a little flyer on what he's doing.
Seen this new piece of equipment sitting in your driveway yesterday. That
Yeah.
sounds,
So now I'll tell you a little bit of what we're doing. Like,
So we clean trash cans and dumpsters. We also do surface cleaning for your concrete patios and your dumpster pads. And having a cleaning, it will eliminate pest and just a terrible smell. Especially around like zips and all that. You're pretty much parking right next to the dumpster, and that's not a fun smell. In some states, they're making it mandatory for you to have to start cleaning it just because of the methylene gases from the food and all the sorts of trash that goes into them.
that's awesome. So it's a really cool. This guy has Noah hooked up with has basically a patent pending that he can do 2 residential dumpsters at one time, but also has attachment unattach it, and he can do the big county dumpsters and commercial dumpsters. And we're kind of talking to Uncle Lynn and that the county's having some problems with varmints, skunks and all that, and so this will eliminate that. Well, try to when because like dump them, that leaves all the guck in there, and it'll be safer for the restaurant owners, employees to put stuff in there, and they'll have all the grease on the concrete. But we're really trying to we're doing this in Logan as well, but we wanted to have our home base here. But they're in other states, like Noah was mentioning, they're only making them clean them, but they're making them separate. And I'm sure it's coming to Utah soon that they make the food go in one dumpster and the paper products another, because they're actually taking the food waste to a different dump because they have to cap it because of the methane gas with the smell. So that's kind of our business, and we wanted to talk to you guys about if we could somehow maybe even put one of these flyers in your sanitation bill and offer the first month half off for the restaurant owners or any HOAs that are having problems with that. Or the other thing that Noah could help do is communicate with Lynn, because they're so busy just dumping and they're gone, where he's there for 30-45 minutes per dumpster, and he can say if there's any preventive maintenance, some of your arms or lids are bent, and communicate that with you guys or Lynn to say, look, this numbered here dumpster's about to rust out of the bottom. So that's kind of our deal, and then we'll just be working out of my shop.
okay.
I think it's a good idea. I think especially with like short-term rentals, if you get a lot of them subscribed, it could be some pretty good income.
I think it is a good business. I don't think we couldn't
put a flyer
put it in our
in,
bill.
in your bill where you're a private business, but certainly one thing about it, you could, well, yeah.
And we're going to be going door to door salesman anyways.
I was just gonna say, word of mouth, or however you do it, you can mail one out, but we couldn't do it in our.
I would start with the Chamber of Commerce over in Garden City, because they got the list of everybody.
Yeah,
they could even.
That's probably, that would be good.
What would your thoughts be if we could have your permission or not, just to do a couple for free over there? Like, I don't know if you want to call it an open house, but just, like we work with Austin at Burger Barn or something, and say, hey, we're going to put it in his parking lot and come show it off. Did I need it? Would that be your permission, or would it be Burger Barn's?
It would be Burger Barn's.
Okay.
As far as that goes, cause we're, you know,
I should know how you guys own the dumpsters though, right?
we do, but as far as cleaning the dumpsters, it's kind of like, it's no different than if we were, um, you know, plowing the parking lot over there and you wanted to do something with the parking lot, you know, I mean, it's, they pay by the dump and we own the dumpster, but if you want to do a demonstration, I don't think there'd be a
Yeah,
problem.
sounds like you can use whatever dumpsters you want.
Okay, yeah, I just, well, that's what we're trying to do, you know, just, it's pretty cool. It has these oscillating things that just blows what, 4,000 PSI? And it has
You get
boiler.
up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit of water, and has a big biodegradable soap dispenser. And
So when you wash that, it completely recycles the water back.
right, yeah, so no water's left in the dumpster. We'll take all the water, and
He has a 500-gallon fresh water and then 500-gallon gray water. So when it's spraying, it's dropping down into the gray water, and then we'll go put that in RV dump. And then it's a pretty cool truck. We'll have to, it also has a big extractor. So if he does leave water or something, he can vacuum it up. So, and then we'll be doing like all our new construction jobs, new flatwork concrete, he surface clean it. It just looks like a lawnmower, but it's squirting water, and then we seal it after that. So but we won't leave any gray water on site.
Yeah, I could potentially see, you know, having you guys maybe, you know, we'll have to talk to Linda, before we store dumpsters, you know, if we're bringing them back,
Yeah.
just cleaning them up so they don't
right,
rot or rust out, but, you know, there's no service like this, and
yeah.
so I think you guys are hitting at the right time. I would make a motion that we approve Bin Lab LLC for their business license.
Second.
Okay, moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, guys.
Ready to
Appreciate
go.
your time.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
You getting any
Good luck.
water on your golf course?
Yeah, but no. Thanks, John. But it's going almost uphill back now. So now I got lots of water flattening it out. Are you taking it? Thank you.
Well, I took it while he was cleaning it.
Oh, he's still cleaning it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
You should,
they asked me to dump it
yeah,
so that he could clean it.
yeah,
And
but
so
they shut it off.
with that,
Well, I'm just thinking you should still take some because
it's still running.
Oh,
If they
yeah.
still clean it.
Oh, yeah.
They still running.
Yeah.
They were just gonna give me a text and say, hey, we're done.
I bet you got
Check
till
rates back.
Thursday.
Okay.
So, but if they don't call you, I don't know if you get over there, we buy it. We're
I-
taking a lot out,
Yeah,
a lot of vegetation,
okay.
flatlands.
All right, well, we'll get it turned back in and then we'll get a little more in at the head and try to push some out. Get your full.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, this will be fun.
Yeah. The treasurer's office.
Okay.
Thanks.
Come on up. Thanks for being so
Yeah,
patient
no
with us. Running behind, and
Yeah, it's all good.
state your name and
Travis Hobbs,
position.
Rich County Fire Warden. Sorry, I should have gave that to Anneliesa earlier, but so just a little update on the House Bill 48. So it's going through our division, the rulemaking process. There's still quite a bit that's up in the air. And so what this bill is, if you guys don't know, just to refresh you, is the Wildland-Urban interface bill that's basically going to be assessing a tax, you could say, or a fee for each home in the Wildland-Urban interface zone that the state has yet to come up with. So it's high risk. It's not going to be all of the WUI zones. It's going to be like high risk. What they are going to define that as, I'm not sure. I'm guessing that we can probably all guess like some of the more high risk WUI is probably going to be places like Sweetwater, Swan Creek, some of the places on the east side of Bear Lake, some of the country in, up and above, like around the Monte Cristo Highway, some of those cabins, I'm sure those will be in. depending on how that goes is I think what's really going to dictate the workload of this inspection process. The fees, or the tax is supposed to be put on the 2026 property taxes. As I understand how it's going to go is everybody is going to start off that falls in this zone at the worst rate. They're going to call the county or the state or however we decide to do that. I'll get into that a little bit. To get an inspection done to see if they can lower their risk. There's going to be 3 ratings, and those fees or what that tax is going to be, I'm not really sure. I do know that they will be based off the square footage of the structures involved. There was going to be, I think there was discussion of a flat, but it sounds like it's square footage. The other thing that's going to kind of affect, and I'm more worried, I think some of the cities will be okay, but counties and cities must adopt and enforce the latest WUI code. That really, so Rich County, I think we're pretty good on that. I'm quite sure we've adopted that some years ago. I think most every county, but I think it's going to affect some of the cities. And how they will go about administering that. So they'll have to select WUI areas in their boundaries. I think, like Woodruff and Randolph, I don't see a whole lot of change. Garden City and Lake Town, I think this might be a little bit of it's probably going to take some work. Hopefully, as we get more direction, though, as to what these high-risk WUIs are and we get more definition, hopefully that'll help paint the picture exactly how this is going to work. The inspector requirements on, so when somebody says, hey, I want to like get an inspection done, I don't think my risk is high. And I'm guessing everybody's going to want an inspection done or see how they can reduce this tax burden. They have not set like what the requirements of that inspector are going to be. Sounds like they're going to want some fire background, but I'm not sure. And
so it's not going to be you.
Well, that's where I'm going is it sounds like there's a few different options that are going to be available for this. And I think I'm not stressing about it too much yet until we really see like how we're going to get all these done, until we really see what these zones are going to be and how many structures are we talking. I think that's the $1 million question. I mean, if we're talking a crate, 500 or maybe it's 3,000 structures, it's a big difference. And then it's the reinspection process too is what worries me. Is so I come to your house, Sam, and give you an inspection, and you cut one bush down and say, hey, I want my reinspection done. So there's got to be I don't know on that. The counties, so they had a meeting. Did any of you guys attend online? I don't know. I didn't see who was online, but
I have no clue what you're talking about, so probably not.
There was an update on this. They had it available online or in person in Cache Valley. So I was wondering if I was repeating some of this, but they were basically, there was discussion among the counties, various counties, on how they're going to administer this. So some of the counties kind of sounds like are going to handle this in-house, and the state, if the county does it in-house, they're going to let them keep more of the inspection fees and funding, or there could be some other options. And I'm sure we can work that out.
Do you have to be if we were to, you need help or we were to hire somebody, you have to be certified?
Kind of sounds in some way. What I think this is just my thoughts, is one of the weird things about us is we have a crazy busy, summer season, but then like we're not like, it's not a crazy workload in the winter. I mean, sure, we do lots of training, paperwork, all that stuff, but it's not out of control. But maybe this could be something where we could fund an assistant, like more of a permanent spot or something along those lines, and offset some of those costs, like with another fire, somebody for wildland fire. I think just still the big thing is just those fees and the amount of structures. I think that's the $1 million question. And I really wish I had more information because I feel like I'm like warning you guys about something, but I'm not, I don't even know how bad
So we
it
don't
is.
set the fees, right? It's the
Sounds
state.
like it's the state.
I'm guessing we're gonna have a lot of houses that interface
Yes.
in those areas,
There ought to be a
like all of them.
time
Yeah.
limit of like after you're set and you go up and check and they set and then I cut a sagebush down.
Mm-hmm.
I ought to have to wait till next year to bother you
Or
to come
something.
and redo it.
And I think that rule committee, I think they are trying to, what really those meetings were about was they were trying to address, like, there was a lot of various concerns just like that brought up, like, okay, how many, inspections are we going to do? I think that's the big thing too, is how this rule process words verbalizes it all, because that could change a lot. Yes, and how the inspection, how many we have to do. I mean, because if we're doing, you go up, you meet with somebody, and a week later they're wanting a re-inspection done, and you have everybody you met with that week or that prior month wanting that, then the workload gets really wild. But that's kind of the update. I will keep you guys informed towards the end of the year. We're supposed to know a lot more. I think even the rulemaking process is going now. My big worry is, and as always, is I want the best interest for Rich County. Like, and I worry sometimes when you have decision makers that are, Salt Lake County, Utah County. I think sometimes they forget about rural communities, and that concerns me. So, I mean, I know Dusty, my boss, he's going to be all over thinking about Rich County, and like we're trying to, cover our bases and try to come up with some way or an easy way to get this done and accomplished. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting with that.
Haven't they appointed like a task force or something
Mhm.
to look at those? I think Jamie was telling me
Yes.
about that.
Yep. And they are meeting. I think they have started meeting, and Dusty's pretty heavily involved. And I got Dusty's ear pretty well. Like I'm just talking it over, and he knows. He knows. I think it's good. And but like Box Elder, they got like comes from out there, and we got some really rural communities. The other question I had was, so is a ranch surrounded by ag going to be defined as wooey? And there's different metrics they've looked at in the past, and they use a lot of modeling. And the problem with modeling is it's good for some things, but sometimes it misses others, or it catches weird things like, okay, there's not a bunch of structures here, but it's all irrigated ag land around this ranch. Like it shouldn't be wooey. Like there's not going to be a fire risk there. Yeah. So we shall see how that goes. Some good news. We did get, the Bear River office. We did get 150,000, for Sweetwater Hill to do fire mitigation. So I think that's a really big thing.
Who's gonna do that?
So that's gonna be, we're gonna hire contractors. Gonna meet with Sweetwater. I have some thoughts, just some bolstering I would like to see maybe around some of the roads, some cul-de-sacs. They also have quite a bit of common ground kind of in between lots. And my thought was to try to reduce some of the fuel loading that's in that. How the homeowners association, so we went and presented to them, I think the homeowners association last year, they said they were interested, so we applied for this. Now it'll just be getting the ball rolling. We've also applied for another grant at the Utah-Idaho border on that Swan Creek wildlife management area to do some fuel reduction along there. What was kind of cool is we were able to join this project with what they're doing in Idaho. So Idaho has a plan from Fish Haven Canyon to come to the Utah border with a fuel break. And I'm hoping we can kind of extend that and eventually maybe get that thing somewhat connected throughout those really high risk areas in Garden City. I think it's a good plan and something that could maybe give us a good foothold or at least a fighting chance. if a fire came. And, you know, it seems like there's been a lot of federal funding freezes and stuff. Some of these are coming from state funds or various ways, but I do know that fire risk and management is, I don't think those funds are going to go away. I think we're going to continue to see them come. There's a lot of worry, you know, it's a big part of the state's budget, federal government's budget is fire management. So yeah, we shall see, but I think that'll be a good project. On the CWS, or Cooperative Wildfire System, if you go to your, I think I attached it on your second page. So some of the changes that have went into place. So participation commitment, which is what they set, and I'll get into a little more details, is what they set that each county or city entity will have to give back to the state, either in kind. That's generally how it's always been, is you had to do like certain projects. Well, they've changed that a little bit. They're going to allow direct payment. Of course, I think they're just saying, yeah, sure, if you want to give us a check, we'll take the money, or we can still do direct payment or actions. So we talked a little bit about like buying that brush truck, that would meet that commitment that we have to the state of Utah. There's other things. Last year, what I did was the gravel that we put up at that Swan Creek Wildlife Management area, that turnaround and kind of that spot, that's what we used for last year's commitment. Oh, the other thing I should mention is there used to be a minimum or maximum percentage of that money that had to go to wildfire prevention or mitigation. That's went away. So we kind of they've let the entities kind of pick what they want to do. And, you know, and it's just a reminder, is like the CWS program is kind of the county's insurance fund, that it's taking an average, and I'll go over how that average works, but for any delegated fires, like the fire last year above Randolph, that what this program does is make sure that Rich County is not going to pay that whole bill. So they're going to break it out over a long period of time, and I'll get into a little more details, and the state's going to cover all that money out of the suppression fund. So yeah, participants in CWS are not billed for any delegated fires, and the state covers all of these costs from the Wildland Suppression Fund. And pretty much, just to make this simple, a delegated fire, there's a little more to this, but anytime like a home's involved in the fire, lots of property damage, or it's an expensive fire, that's kind of how that goes. So we just need to sign that we are re-upping on this CWS. I have an actual official copy here. And we do need to come up with action plans that we have, proposed actions. I think I got some kind of I think we could use for this year. And if you go to the very back page, this might help you guys understand. So it's not the very back, excuse me, the second to last page. Cooperative Wildfire System. So Rich County's total participation commitment for this year is $6,887. This is, so if you look under the orange, it's wildfire risk assessment. So that's looking at wildfire risk assessment in the county. And this is a good example of where modeling is really helping out Rich County, because that's one of the lowest in the state, $79. So whatever metrics they're looking at, that's pretty low, $79. Then historic fire cost average. So this is the big one. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at the most expensive year and the least expensive year. Those two are removed off of the average list. And then they take the average of the other 8, and that's how they come up with that fund. So for an example, last year, that Dry Fork fire had a cost of $1,093,64, or $93,064 a lot. 31% of that was on private property, so $338,000. It will be roughly these costs that they wait a whole year because so when you start adding these big fires, or if you look at 2018, I highlighted it, that's the North Eden fire. The state's commitment on that, or the county's, excuse me, was 969,000 on that fire alone. So what happens is when we get a few of these bad fire years, and I think Bill, like back in the 90s, and this was a different system, but if you get a few of these bad fire years, this number can go up quite a bit, like that commitment risk. So, next year we're going to gain that fire. So it's probably gonna, I can almost guarantee it's gonna go up some.
Because the high will now,
yes, be averaged out.
let's still take off the 1.2 million, but now we're gonna have, instead of our next highest being 40,000, it's gonna be, what do you say?
It's gonna be 338. So it's quite a bit.
So
you're looking at, I mean, if I do that, it's 45,000 roughly.
Goes from 7,000 to
45,000.
Okay.
So that's what sucks about how fast this.
And if you have 5 of those in a row,
horrible.
Yeah, you're kind of
horrible.
Of course, then you're also using all the money. So
yes,
that's the point.
Yes. So that's the whole deal. Or it could go the other way. So in 2018, that's going to come off. And let's say we have a 4 years period with no fires, and our high will end and then end up being the Dry Fork fire.
Well, luckily we had some forward-thinking commissioners back in the day because because we do have that wildland suppression fund that's at $856,000 right now,
and that is something like very, very lucky because some of these counties, I don't ever see Rich County getting like this, but I mean, Box Elder, they're dealing with the $1 million plus every year on this.
Yeah.
Now the good news is the way that this is wrote is it's not like Rich County cuts a check to the state of Utah for that money. So, and what a lot of these entities are doing is they're basically giving this participation commitment, like either it's buying trucks, training guys, having fuel reduction programs in and around the county. I mean, like some counties, like they have own skid steers and will go mow, behind people's places for fuel reduction. So there is ways to mitigate that. There is also ways like, so when these places go and buy like a fire truck and then they put it back up to go out and help other places in the state, and then they submit a bill for that and they actually can run that like not in the hole. Do you get what I mean? If that makes sense. But it's something that I think is worth talking about. It's
like
just,
if you have $140,000 bill, maybe just buy $140,000 truck and
yes,
that is your
yes. Yep. And then, in the future, because then, and like we can then start recouping that money back, like sending that truck, when we're not busy, sending that truck out on incident and recouping those funds back. What I'd really, and that's really, I guess, the ultimate goal is like try to get, I don't want to see taxpayers like having to fund wildfires in Rich County. I mean, I guess in a way, sense they will be, but if we can make sure we're reducing that. I mean, for an example, Juab County, pretty small county. I think their wildland fire program brought almost $1 million off of some of their trucks going out and helping other areas. And actually like have a surplus and help offset some other costs. So there is some cool options. I'm happy to get and maybe we should have a work meeting or something and discuss some of those, or like a plan, like some ways that we could come up with to make sure we're kind of getting ahead of the curve.
Hey, Bill, is this wildland, first off, when I was saying we need to thank our commissioners, Bill was one of the guys that set this up, but is this wildland suppression fund, is it restricted monies or is it just us paying from general funds into it?
General funds into it.
So it could be used for other things potentially. I'm not saying we do that, but.
Well, it's been set aside and it's restricted for wildland fire.
We couldn't use it for a truck.
Well, anything to do with wildfire.
So we could use it for, okay. That was my question.
But it was, you know, that fund was built to pay our portion of the commitment to, into these five.
Yeah, because there was a time where the county kind of got stuck with a bill, or no, you were just saw it coming.
Well, the problem was there was a formula set up, and so you paid into that every year. And our risks were fairly low, but we were paying $40,000 to $45,000 a year
That minimum.
And then when you had big fires like Box Elder County or the ones down there, then the fund was depleted, and there was no and then we started completely over again. And so it wasn't like that was a cushion. So we decided, rather than contribute into that wildland suppression fund bank account, we would create our own and take the risk of it, because we were building our fund. I mean, if we'd have been continuing to do it, that 875,000 would be zero.
Well, it's doubled over the last 4 years, because when I was first elected, it was under 400,000. You know, it's taking advantage of the high interest rates.
For sure. But no, it's very smart. Like, and I think there is some truth, as you know, if you look over history over a long period of time, there has been highs, you know, in the 90s. There was so Rich County had significant wildland fire, and you know, a lot of that's based off weather systems and everything. But if we get into a situation where, you know, let's say somebody burns Sweetwater Hill down, like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's just like the fund, like that amount of money. Now, in a case like that, it would probably get FEMA assistance, and maybe we weren't even talking about it, but it's just the risk is extreme. It's, yeah, crazy. So I do think, and this is just my thoughts, but I do think our best bang for the buck is to try to catch fires when they're small. I think that is the key, is if we have a good response, we're there, and we can catch them when they're small.
But you got to have a good relationship with BLM and forestry to do that.
Yes.
And equipment.
Yep. And I do think the BLM has been awesome. Like last year when I ordered that dozer, there was I mean, we were delayed for 15 minutes while a decision was made, and the dozer got in and started engaging the fire. And I think that's been better. But especially it should be that's an important thing. Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way.
No, for sure. Yeah.
We went on a BLM rag board went up and toured the fire spot. And you could see where the fire burned to that road and all up on that south side of it. And it went to where the road and the dozer went.
Yep.
And I pointed it out that dozer saved that and made that stop. And I says, years ago, they wouldn't allow a dozer in there, and that wouldn't have happened. That fire that kept going.
Yes.
And one of the other RAC members told me, he says, I appreciate you pointing that out, because one of the RAC members isn't pro use dozers and get them stopped, but you got to have equipment to stop.
Yes. Oh yeah, and I mean, like a dozer is the best. I mean, there's like in that country, there is not a more effective way to and especially a dozer in combination with like brush trucks and engines that can engage that fire or burn off of a road like we did up there. That's critical, like to get it stopped and
then you can go in and reclaim it and
yes,
get some grass coming.
And Rich County's lucky. Like, I mean, I don't want to say we don't have cheatgrass, but we don't have some of the problems like some of the places like the West Desert's dealing with, Box Elder. You know, like you go up and look at the fire from 2018 on North Eden, and that thing pretty much had a dozer line all the way around it. You'll have a tough time seeing where that dozer line will, like you'll see a change in the grasses.
That's what I was gonna say, other than it's bright green grass.
It's almost better. So
yeah,
and just stuff like that, and getting, you know, it's easier to extinguish a match than it is a campfire. And just having guys that are, you know, Johnny on the spot, get there, put them out, it really does make the difference. We've been lucky, want to keep it that way, and I don't want, you know, and last year, I hope it was an anomaly. But yeah, we just want to get on them, get them extinguished, and yeah. So another thing we need to do is, so State Fire Marshal's office has apparently lost Rich County's fire department ID. So they have the 4 districts, but Rich County has always had a fire department ID for the wildland fire program. I mean, you guys are ultimately responsible, or the county directly, for wildland fire. There was one. I talked to Dan Ames about this. We did have one. What happens is I can't, it brings up some billing issues. So I should be able to put all of like Rich County Road Department's equipment on an agreement and actually bill. So when a Dept fire becomes delegated, we should recuperate their funds, because the BLM, you betcha, they're going to charge like all of their stuff. The county should probably be submitting a bill. Like we could even get operators' time, that grader, everything paid for. I think so. Basically, what we need to do, I talked to the state, and Anneliesa, thank you for helping me. But we need to just request an FDID for a wildland fire program. So basically the letters states to establish Rich County wildfire as a county level resource to engage in wildland fire response and suppression within Rich County. I stated in there one time Rich County had an FDID number. We don't have one. We do own that brush truck. So with the county, this is what's weird, is the state, we FEPP, we have like the dozers, a few, I think we have 3 dozers that are all listed under the county. We have a Type 6 engine. We bought that new side by side. All those things can be billed for. The problem is we don't have an agreement to put them under, and I don't know how that happened or what happened. It was before my time, but somehow we've lost that. So if we can get an FDID number, and they just need a letter basically saying that with commissioner signatures. Yeah. So I do have that. You guys want to?
So who issues that?
State Fire Marshal's office. Yep. The other thing is what I should probably do is get with Brandon. If you guys are good with this, we probably should engage with like the county's water truck, like all of that type of stuff, those resources. We should probably get them on the list, and like if they're using them and a fire becomes delegated, would be kind of crazy not to submit our portion of the bill. Or if we are helping the BLM on a complete BLM fire, all of that is reimbursable. Like we shouldn't, it's not like you guys wouldn't like base any bills for that, but we should be billing for their time and helping out on that stuff. Yeah. And the other thing we could do is get some of those guys, if they wanted to, or if they had I'd be happy to even teach them a class, like if they had some time, like a basic wildland class. I don't know if they'd be interested, but probably be a good idea.
Yeah, especially during the winter time.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to do something like that and just get them engaged and a little more safe on the fire, and and then we can help bill their time, and
That's a good idea.
Yeah, the county can pull funds, or at least get some funding off of that. Because we do have a ton of BLM and a ton of state land here. We're on their fires. They don't have tons of resources up here. They want us to help them. Yeah. And we can get them right up there with the count on. And it's basically, we have an agreement as forestry, fire, and state lands with the county, or with all the fire departments, that they basically kind of become almost state resources, if that makes sense. With that agreement with the BLM, they can engage the fire. They're covered on liability wise, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry, I got so much.
I needed.
We're at the halfway point.
Sorry. So last year on the fire, so Randolph's brush truck, we had a truck, Randolph's brush truck, one of their brush trucks got damaged. What happened was the county's Type 6, so the truck that Jaden drives, that the county basically supplies Jaden, got stuck. Wasn't a really big deal, except he was down out in front of the fire. The only truck we have with a winch that could get him out was Randolph's, one of their heavy trucks. So when he went up there, got into a fence and damaged one of the boxes. Jaden thought we could get this fixed pretty easy. It's going to be a little more. It's probably going to be like need to go to like an auto body shop. It's probably going to be a few $1,000s. I didn't know, like, would we want to do that like on insurance? Just pay it. I'd get some estimates, of course, before, or what do you guys think on that?
So when you say one of the boxes at one of the sides,
Yeah.
to tear the door off and all.
Tweak the door enough that it's not operational. And Chris, he's like, I'd just like to get the box operational where it's not leaking water in there and dust. He's like, it doesn't need to be super pretty, but just to get it nice and functional so it'll open. I did talk with Wolford a little bit in Logan. They thought that box could be tweaked. Like if they brought it over to their metal guy, he could tweak it in such a way that may make it work. And he didn't think it would be too much, but he's like, without seeing it, so I'd need to get it there. But I just didn't know what you guys thought there. I just hate to leave them like it's kind of a mess. We got the county truck, they got stuck. They went up to help him. Really wasn't directly their fault. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem fixing it, but I'm just wondering.
Maybe I'll get you all a cost on what, if it's like that'd probably be the best
cost.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll get some estimates
under the assumption that we're fine if it's not super expensive.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything over 1,000 is recommended to
Go to the insurance. It's totally fine. Yep. Perfect. Heavy brush truck donation for Rich County. So I've been trying, after that fire up there, the BLM made some comments like, geez, we should be trying to help you guys out on, they have some trucks getting replaced. Don't know when that's going to be now. Some of the funding's been a little weird, but it sounds like they might have a chance at some of their trucks becoming available. I'm really trying hard to secure one for Rich County. So they're heavy engines. The state of Utah has another one. I'm really trying to make sure we are up in the running to get one of those. The BLM, it's pretty cool. They actually just basically hand the county over the keys. The requirements usually is that the county has BLM land in it and that they help on wildland fires, which we would do.
When you say heavy truck, describe.
Yeah, so it's about a $300,000-$400,000 truck new. They just haul more water. They're more like on a semi platform.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bigger, better. Just really, it's more. They haul more water, more people. How would we get it? But so I'm really trying on that.
You said the state's also upgrading trucks, and we're hoping
Yep.
to get so 2 of them.
Maybe, possibly. That's what I'm going to try for. I mean, I just think might really help some of our Garden City right now. I've got more guys than they have trucks to get guys on fires. The response on some of the wildland classes has been really good from them. Got to just to get guys out there and get them there. Yeah. The problem is there's still some of them volunteers, and it's been kind of tricky to get everybody showing up on a fire. We had kind of a mess last year. I think I talked to you guys, but I think I passed 4 trucks broke down on the way up to that fire.
Really? 4 of our truck?
Yes. It happens. There's no doubt, but it's just like.
Is it them sitting there that's a problem, or is it they're old? Like,
I think they're just getting outdated, like the one Garden City truck, actually, I think they had some fuel tank issues, but I mean, it was an old county warden truck. It was an old state warden truck from, I think it's a 93. And I mean, that's like a frontline engine. They still had a 1986 Chevy in the fleet.
That one made it up there.
Did not. It doesn't run. They are upgrading. Let's see, Lake Town, I think, lost the transmission in one of the trucks. Yeah. Anyways, it's just one of those things is like, it's hard. I get it. The fire department's like, but yeah, it just concerns me. Like we gotta have guys show up. But we'll get it. I think they are working, all of them. The other issue that we had up there last year was we didn't have a pumpkin, so we actually had a helicopter sitting up there for an hour and a half with no way to sling water on the fire. We don't have, well, we had one pumpkin that was in Woodruff. So basically the helicopters need like a soft-sided water source or a real water source so they don't get hung up in it. Garden City after that fire did purchase one.
So they brought their own. They don't, huh?
Well, so the helicopter generally comes out of Spanish Fork and is going to beat their crews up here by a long shot. They did bring their own, but so that helicopter will leave right from the air base loaded with guys to come up and help get on the fire. But that truck that's following them is going to take, multiple hours to get up and set up. So that's something I'm going to work with the departments on, is to be a little more ready for that type of thing, like to get them set up with water so we can use those aerial resources if we call them, like to get them engaged in the fire. Because sometimes, just you catch one little spot fire that blows up to the, 1,000-acre fire. If you can catch it early, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So you're thinking the county needs one of those pumpkins?
That was one thought I had, and I was going to get some prices, but Garden City did get one, so I'm really happy. Woodruff's going to try to get theirs on their truck, and at least between the two of those, hopefully when they respond, they'll have them ready to go next time.
Just my first Google search shows the biggest one's $1,900, which I thought they would have been more.
Yeah, they're not that much. It's just something, yeah. So just little things, like we're going to make little tweaks, improvements. We're just going to keep going, and yeah.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, so that was one thing I was going to suggest, like on some of that mitigation money. Like I would, if you guys were okay with this, though, I think we should try to wait. I'm going to ask Tracy if it'd be okay with us signing our commitment towards wait till the awards is after fire season, or at least put what our proposed actions are going to be, just so we know like what kind of budget we have left after, if we have a busy fire year, that kind of thing. And historically, Bill, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we've kind of helped the departments pay, like, so if the departments go on small, like these couple 7-acre fires or a 10-acre fire here, we just handle that all in-house, so it doesn't get delegated, and the county just handles that. And we've kind of helped pay for just their time to come up and help us on the fire, basically. So I just don't want to like deplete a bunch of money out of our budget buying like a pumpkin, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We do have the Northern Utah engine training in Lake Town this year. It's going to be at Rendezvous Beach. So we're going to have four different counties, wildland resources all coming up here to participate in that. And if you guys want to come down and see it, you're welcome to. We'll serve a pretty big dinner. I always invite the county commissioners for the hosting place out. So you guys are welcome. It's be like on May 31st, the weekend after Memorial Day. So you guys be welcome to come down, kind of see some of that stuff. But
We did that. Dan did that a couple of years
yeah,
ago. didn't
yep. I think it's a good spot, and it's really good to get some of those guys that would be coming up to help us engage in a fire, like up familiar with Rich County, and it's good. And everybody loves having it up here, so it's cool. And we can work with the state parks and keep our funds onto.
What's that called?
It's Northern Utah. So we call it NUWET, but it's Northern Utah Wildland Engine Training. It's May 30th and 31st. We're going to be doing some of the training is going to be around in Lake Town, and then Sweetwater Hill.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we send a letter and request an ID number for the Rich County Wildfire Department.
Second.
Okay, moving second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed by the same sign? Motion carries.
And this is the official CWS. I think we need one signature, name and title, just that we're going to be a part of the CWS.
Oh, we're all signing it. Okay.
We need a motion on that.
The CWS? Yeah, I'll make a motion that we re-sign the CWS agreement.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You opposed? Motion carries. What is today?
You probably want a copy of this, don't you?
Travis.
Oh yeah, I need to sign that one too. Sorry. And I think that's all I got. I hope it rains a lot and we don't have any fires.
Yeah.
I hope the grass is way high and green as green.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Stays green.
Yeah,
That was a good rain I had yesterday.
that was awesome. We needed that one.
We
That was
did.
good.
Yeah.
And maybe like, so on that brush truck, maybe we just wait till after season, or we think about what your guys' thoughts are on, yeah. And maybe, I don't know, would you guys, would it be easier like for me to try to draft like some plan that I think we could reasonably come up with money wise, or what?
I think it'd be easier to justify it if there were some estimate and simple explanation of what it could generate.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to, I don't think you have to do much convincing. We just need to make sure we have the money.
Yeah.
I think as far as like the sentiment of the commission.
I mean, I truly think that with that, like, to purchase, if like, let's say we purchase a Type 6 brush truck, Rick has told me he is more than willing to take that out and get that out like in the off season. It would be really great to get those guys out. They go out on two, if they go out on two 14-day assignments, we should be pretty close to being like completely almost reimbursed. If they go out on three, I would say it's about $50,000 an assignment.
Yeah, I would like to purchase it as an asset that it's just not used unless it's billable hours. You know, this is our money making truck.
Yeah. And but I think you'd want it to, get used for
some training
response,
yeah.
or fire response in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
but not like a driver,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. No. And it need to be parked in like, yeah, the off season, not in the winter. Yeah. That kind of thing. But I do think if we got the ball rolling and could start getting some funding rolling in, I mean, really, if Rick would do this for a couple years, and he has told me Riley Argyle's another one, like, so he's qualified to do it. He does have commitments with Garden City. Obviously, he's their public works guy, but he told me he'd love to even go for a week or two. Dan Ames has even expressed interest to come back and do one or two. We do that.
Are there private guys that do this?
Yeah, so this is what's interesting is there's a contract that's set up with the Forest Service, but the Forest Service and so these various states have kind of went to more this style to try, what they're trying to do is bolster counties and municipalities to invest in this. So not only hopefully they have better resources, more qualified people. That's kind of the whole point of this is they're trying to incentivize.
Yeah, because with that amount of money, there's got to be guys set up.
Oh yeah, like there's
the dollars,
Yeah, like Juab County. I mean, they've dove into it full. I mean, they're literally off. I think they're buying structure wildland trucks. I think Tooele, I'm pretty sure they've spent money on a dozer for their county. Like tried to offset other expenditures with some of this stuff that's available. So there's an opportunity to get it up and rolling. And I think we start slow and just kind of build it up. I think it would be a good thing.
But Juab's getting to the point where their brand, people know the Juab guys.
Oh, they're on it. They were up here. They came up and helped us out up here. They're just there and they're getting, really good. I was with them for, 20 days in Texas this spring. They were there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And it's wild how good of crew they have. Like it's very impressive how good a crew they have. So yeah. And we got that in Rich County. Like we got some of the hardest working kids. Like I'm serious. Like compared to a lot of places, people like that in the fire world. Like we're lucky. Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty cool. Like last year, our guys beat the BLM full timers in a hose relay.
Oh,
Yeah, at this last year's spring training. So it's pretty cool. Like we do have some great kids, good guys. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
yeah, thank you. Keep us from burning down, Travis.
Yep.
Thanks for waiting on us. dude.
No, yeah, no trouble.
Sorry, I should have shook your hand, Travis. I'm distracted. We'll see you. Just about done with this.
I'm gonna approve the minutes for April 9th, 2025.
Second that.
Moving seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the invoices for April as presented.
Second.
Moving seconded, we approve the expenditures, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Are we done? That's it?
I just have one thing I just want to discuss with you. So coming up, this year is a celebration called Celebration 250. And just trying to, there's an individual that's over it. His name's Chris Abbott. And he would like to just give a presentation about what America 250 means. And he said that Governor Cox would love to have the entire state around the commemoration of 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. And he said some counties are planning some pretty significant events, and some are just going to do some recommendations. But he would like to have a 30-minute Zoom call and just explain some of the opportunities that we could have as a county if we wanted to participate in the 250 the 250 year commemoration. So whenever if you guys would like to join on that, I'll set up a time with him, and he said it would just be about 30 minutes, and he would just kind of go through what's going on. He would like the mayors to be there too, or join in too if they wanted to. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up. I will get back with him. It was discussed down at the UAC meetings as well. Some of the counties were talking about some of the things that they were going to have in conjunction with their fairs and those kind of things.
Okay, that's 26. That'd be a year from
next year.
So we could do it at our fair time or something.
Yeah. He said we are kicking off our programming on July 1st, 2025. And we'll be working with all 29 counties to partner with us.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay, so I'll get the mayor's emails and send to him as well, and he can email them out. So that's all I had. I just wanted to bring that up.
So the last thing also, because we skipped over by accident, is the Rich County Conservation District.
Oh.
They sent us a letter. Is it all right if I just read a few things that they did this last year quickly? I'll summarize it. They awarded senior Sage Lundgren a scholarship to help with her further her education. They also have a poster contest going right now where they're going to give away 6 scholarships. $1,000 will be awarded total. They have several pieces of rental equipment that they offer for rent: the pivot track filler, no-till drill, chain harrow, and the weed sprayer for four-wheeler. They contributed some money to help the local GIP projects, which is awesome. They purchased tire troughs to help producers finish conservation water projects, and they're also going to help contribute predator control fund. They're hoping to they're asking the county to donate $2,500 if possible. I know in the past we've always supported them. I'd be happy to give them what they're asking for.
Yeah, I would be willing to make that motion that we contribute $2,500 to the conservation district for their projects.
Okay, second that.
Moving second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign, motion carries.
Okay. Move we adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.